Hey guys, I'm Michael. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you can hear me over the rain outside. It's raining very hard and I love the sound of it, and there's probably going to be some thunder and lightning too. So anyways, bear with me. I'm here today to talk about journaling. I have really grown a lot from journaling. The reason I want to talk about this is because I realize I have, over the last 5 years, created literally well over thousands of journal entries in multiple formats. And this is something that's kind of happened organically. I didn't intend to have this sort of collection of self-reflection and journals, but I do, and I've learned an incredible amount from it, and so that's what I want to share today. So first of all, I have multiple forms of journaling, and they all serve as sort of a different purpose and produce a certain effect in my life in a different way. One of the things that I use is very basic, handwritten journal entries on paper with a pen or a pencil. So to me this is sort of foundational, and writing on paper seems to have a sort of effect with me where it's I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I feel like a little bit of a different side of me comes out, maybe a more creative and grounded side of me, because I'm using something grounded and sort of creative to create this expression with. So I think that's part of it. Another format that I really use quite a lot is typing. So typing on my computer and on my phone. And so these are sometimes short entries or very, very long novels. It really depends, but I feel as though a certain level of fluidity comes out in a different way with typing versus writing, because I can type faster than I can write. And it's a little more clear as well. And I can spell check. And so there's a lot of value that I find in that. And in my notes in my phone, I have, I think several hundred journal entries every year in my notes. And sometimes it's one blurb, sometimes it's, like I said, paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. Usually what all of this is sort of stream of consciousness expression. This is incredible. And I love this. And so the next step in that, for me, has been to develop well over 1,000 hours of voice notes in my phone of journal entries over the last 4 or 5 years, but really in the last 2 to 3 years primarily. That's where a huge chunk of my journaling has happened. And with voice notes, what I do is I just hit record and I say, hello, and I kind of talk to myself, essentially, right? And I say, hey, I'm just checking in, almost like it's a phone call. And it's a little crazy, right? Any other time in history, that would be an insane thing to do, be talking to yourself. But because I have a little red button that I can push, saying record, suddenly it formats it in an organized way that's practical for me to explore and to understand and to flip through over time. And that's really served me a lot. The next step for me has been video journaling. Now I have, I would say, hundreds of hours of video entries on my phone and on my computer. And this has served me immensely to gain an even heightened level of self-awareness. So now, that's sort of the entire premise and purpose of journaling, is to discover your own self, to write letters and notes and ideas and thoughts and really discover who you are and what you want and what is important to you, right? And so to me that's been incredibly empowering to see myself in this way, and it's taken many years, frankly, to get to that stage, and I'm still going. Every single day I'm making journal entries in many different formats, typing, voice note, and video now. It's really a trio that I work with, and as well as some written notes, but I don't want to use so much paper because I just burn through paper ridiculously fast if I'm writing in them every single day, writing on paper every single day. Now, this self-awareness is really powerful because it allows us to really recognize what we want, who we are. How are we going to organize our lives in a way that's fitting and meaningful for us, right? Because if we don't know who we are, we can't design a lifestyle that serves our needs and our system, right? We don't have much awareness of what kind of patterns arise in our lives, right? And the really interesting thing that I've discovered in my life is that if I go back on any given day, usually I can find really clear cyclical patterns in my, I'm trying to talk louder because of the rain, it's really coming down. I find cyclical patterns in my journaling and consequently cyclical patterns in my healing process, right? So every year, on any given day, I might be going through the same thing I did 2 years ago and last year. And what it seems to be is that with this awareness, this documented awareness of my feeling state, my emotions, and my thoughts, I can actually recognize that, I didn't really attend to that very deeply. Otherwise, I wouldn't need to keep attending to it. It would have been resolved. I never resolved it. And so this is incredible awareness. Incredible awareness that helps us resolve our life's difficulties. But of course, like I said, it takes this awareness. Another thing that we do is, and it's very much tied to this, is shadow work. So shadow work, if you dove into any sort of psychology or anything like this, you've probably come across the idea of shadow work. And I believe this is an idea from Carl Jung, correct? The philosopher, and he's written incredible books. I've read a little bit of his work, but it's really dense, really fascinating, interesting guy, but it just takes me a lot to process what he's saying sometimes. Fair enough, right? And what he talks about is that we have our forefront of our mind, our conscious mind, the things that we are aware of. Consciousness means awareness. What are we aware of in any given moment? Now, we have to recognize that maybe, sort of like an iceberg, maybe 5 or 10% of our mind, what we consider mind as a human mind, is on the conscious surface. 95% of the rest is being processed sort of behind the scenes. Because why would you need to be conscious of digesting your food? Do you need to be conscious of, I'm moving this cheeseburger down this part of my colon? You don't need to do that. There's no need for that. So it's all processing in the subconscious or in the shadow, just like as if you were casting a shadow. However, what we have to recognize is that just because we're not aware of something doesn't mean it's not affecting our lives and the way we move in the world. Oftentimes, we push things into the shadow, and what happens is they still have the ability to manifest in our lives. It's just very much in a covert and discreet way, backdoor style. All of these negative things that we suppress and push away, that we don't think about ourselves or about the world or about who we are, what we need, our lives, this sort of thing, it's still going to manifest itself in weird ways, whether you know about it or not. Nice. I love thunder. If you count, as soon as you see the lightning flash, you count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, and you get to 7. Every 7 seconds, allegedly, is 1 mile away, the distance of the lightning. Sometimes it'll be right away, and then you know it's quite close. So, because of the time it takes sound to travel across through air, right? Anyways, enough of my distraction with my fascination with thunder and sound and these things. What I found is that I lost my train of thought a little bit. So I'll go back to this. These cyclical patterns that we find in our lives, what we recognize also is that it's a lot of work, and being a human being is really complicated, right? It's not easy. And so we can begin to develop a level of self-compassion and understanding and patience with ourselves that from my perspective I felt I didn't have, and I feel as though most people my age don't have for themselves. The thing is, what I recognize through journaling is sort of like, imagine there's a split in me and I'm 2 separate people. Would I, seeing myself in my life, struggling, would I demonize him? Would I shame him? Would I guilt trip him into not to being perfect and better and fixed already? No! I would have compassion and love for him like I would a friend or a brother of mine. And so what many of us lack is this awareness of, I'm one of those people too that deserves love and kindness and respect and patience, right? And the same that we would extend to a loved one, a friend, someone that we really cherish and appreciate, we can learn to extend that to ourselves, which is really sort of not the common tendency for most of us, right? So anyways, I think that I've given you a little insight on my journaling experience and how it served me to develop self-awareness, to develop an outlet for healing. Because when I heal, when I express myself, I heal. I heal through that, because awareness in itself can be curative. Being aware of how you feel is curative in a lot of instances in and of itself. And so developing a shadow work practice and developing an awareness practice will really bring us into more of an alignment with ourselves. Because much of what's in the shadow is sort of fragmented parts of our psyche, fragmented parts of our heart and our mind that maybe society, our parents, our religion, our upbringing, ourselves, whatever it might be, has told us, this is not acceptable of you. That part of you is not acceptable. You can't have that and be safe here. So put it away, put it in the back closet. And you know, like Zaboomba-foo, like this closet just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more full.
Into the closet, they're going on a trip. You ready? They're going to the closet to grab their something slick.
And so the more that we don't deal with shadow elements of our psyche and our mind, the more that we find incredible dysfunction, because we've postponed and postponed and postponed our development of awareness is to essentially taking inventory, right? For instance, when I was really young, I worked with a friend's mother of mine, and we had a little business where we worked with hoarders. And these hoarders, like on the TV show, would have mountains of stuff all over their homes. And these were very, very wealthy millionaire hoarders. So they would have mounds and mounds of brand new high heel shoes. And for instance, one of the clients was 80 something years old. She couldn't hardly even walk, but still would come home with brand new boxes of shoes, high heel shoes all the time. And through this process, we started to sort of uncover some of her baggage. And a lot of this baggage was deep emotional wounding, right? And so what we notice is that we might be hoarding in some way of our own in life as a way to sort of mask all of this lack of awareness. And we didn't take inventory of what we have in our emotional closet. And it just builds and builds and builds. And we don't know it's there. We don't know how to deal with it. We don't even know if we really need it or want to keep it or anything until we start to take incremental inventory of what it is that's in there so that we can actually help ourselves, right? And the thing is, this process is it's a long process, let's be real. Journaling to uncover yourself and to discover yourself is not easy. It's going to be really complicated and a long process, but it's okay. Because here's my tips. All you have to do is tip 1, just start simple. Start really, really basic, really simple, really easy, and develop a sort of habit of journaling. Whenever you feel an emotion arising or a thought pattern arising that is maybe recurring, document it. Document it, because what you might find is that in your mind the thought goes deep, you know, this one thought about, oh, I really wish I could be doing this and this and that, and oh, I don't really like my boss. But the thing is, maybe only until you write it on paper or in your phone or a voice note or a video do you recognize that there's actually more to the story than just the part that replays in your head. There's a whole, that's sort of the flower coming out of the ground, and there's a whole branch and a whole root system underneath of this sort of emotion that we have to discover, right? And slowly bring to the surface so that we can deal with it. And a lot of times what we recognize is that we already have a very clear answer as to what we can do to solve this problem in our lives, right? But we have to become conscious of it. That's what the awareness and the consciousness expansion process is all about. Bringing more things into this frontal awareness so that we can grow, that we can really face life in a meaningful way. Another tip that I have for you, these are good. Here's the thing, right? With journaling and with self-awareness, what we have to recognize is that maybe in the beginning we don't even know ourselves. And it's a really daunting thing to recognize that I've lived with me my whole life and I don't even know me. That's really weird, right? That's really kind of a freaky place to be sometimes for many of us. And so what we have to do is start to develop this willingness to express ourselves totally. Say anything, even if it sounds crazy, deranged, evil, sick, whatever it is, because part of the shadow awareness is that human beings are capable of a wide spectrum of emotion, feeling, and thoughts. And what society has told us to do is to be in this little box, right? In this little window, and it's like a little peephole in your door. You open it up and you live your, hey guys, yeah, this is my personality, this is me, hello. And you live your life out of this, when in reality your conscious awareness and your ability to be a human being is this. It's massive, and it does have the potential to be beautifully enlightened and kind, and it has the potential to be horrendous. And that all exists in all of us. 100% of us have this wide spectrum. It just depends on how much of it we are conscious of. And again, if we're not conscious of any of the negative, dark parts of us, that shit will live in our lives, and it'll act out in our lives in nasty ways that we don't actually want. See, to me, to be honest, a person that's very trustworthy is not someone that is holier than thou. It's a person that is in touch with their holier than thou and their evil, right? We have to be really honest about this, and that's, again, all about what self-awareness is about. So, say anything. Radical honesty with yourself. Now, here's the thing. In the beginning, that will be hard because maybe you don't really know what's true about yourself. You don't know because maybe you haven't explored it much, and most of us haven't. That was my case. I hadn't explored myself at all. At all. And I didn't even really understand that there was such a depth of the inner world. I really was living on the surface of life and lacking the awareness of my inner space. And so that's what we're developing. We're developing radical awareness and radical honesty, which develops radical self-trust, because you really see who you are more of as a totality. Not a totality, but more of your totality incrementally growing, right? And so this will really allow you to find a way to trust yourself because you understand who you are. You can't trust yourself if you're only half of yourself, because you don't know if the other half of you that's in the shadow is trustworthy. If you will show up one day in your life and you have this desire, are you going to follow through? Are you going to be a good person? Are you going to do the right thing? Or are you going to do something shisty? You don't know until you really know yourself. Now, of course, self-awareness also comes with age, right? Let's be honest. If we're 15 or 14, if you're 15 or you're 14, don't be in a rush. Chill out, you know? Gain self-awareness as it comes. Gain self-awareness as life presents you with the opportunity to gain self-awareness. Like I said before, oftentimes we have cyclical patterns in our lives, and what I see these things as is opportunities that present themselves in our life to approach and to face something, maybe a fear, maybe a regret, maybe a thought, maybe a belief that maybe we need to challenge. And so let that be the opportunity in your life to face that so that it doesn't keep coming up. The more that you clear that cache, like on the internet, the more that you have space to deal with the next stuff and the new stuff. And usually the new stuff's more interesting anyways, and it'll allow you to grow and go even deeper. That's about it. That's my tips. I really hope that you guys feel empowered to just start. That's all you have to do, because never did I have an intention to set out on this journey. I just did, because I didn't really have any other choice. I really didn't have any other choice, and I had to become aware of myself because lacking self-awareness hurt too much. So I hope that you gained a lot out of this. I know that this process for me has been immensely empowering. And who knows, maybe through all of this, you write a book or something. Who knows? Who knows what comes from this? Just start. Start, build the habit, and become self-aware. I hope that you guys gained a lot from this. I hope that this community serves you. I hope that you can try and add to the community and serve the community as well in your own way. And I hope you keep coming back. Thanks for joining my channel and this community, and I'll see you next time, all right? Peace out.
about today? Where do I begin? Well, first of all, this Karen